The Sea of Thieves is home to many threats. From angry skeletons, to vengeful spirits, to giant talking heads in the sky. But the most dangerous of all are the other pirates that are also roaming the seas. You may feel safe hauling around your hard-earned treasure, but what would happen if you became the hunted? What's up guys, BlueLycanroc here, and welcome to another episode in the Sea of Thieves wishlist. A series where I show a possible content update that could be added to the game, and how it can work in the current environment. I've done a couple episodes of this in the past, and they can be found in the info card in the corner of the screen. These videos take a ton of work, and I just want to preface this by thanking everyone who helped me make this video possible. And I want to thank all of you for clicking on this video in the first place. So hey, while you're here, why not subscribe? This content update in particular adds a new faction, a new form of currency, and an entirely new PvP-focused game system in the form of bounty hunting. This has been an update concept I've wanted to release for over a year, but just haven't figured out a way to integrate it into the game in the right way. I do want to add real quick before this video officially begins, this update concept happens in an alternate universe, where Season 8 didn't happen yet, and this will happen like in the place of Season 8. I wrote this like a year ago, before Season 8 even happened, and it's just too cool not to release. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The Hunted is going to be a revolutionary update for the PvP side of the game. We have gotten many updates in the past that help enhance PvE, which is all fine and good, but this one will spice everything up for sure. Back in 2020, the Reaper's Bones was introduced, and it was supposed to be the premier PvP faction in the past, hunting down enemy emissaries and selling their broken flags to the Servant of the Flame. But now it's looked at as the premier PvE faction, let's be real. It's filled with a bunch of what are now referred to as Reaper's Runners. Pirates who get to Reaper's Grade 5, get a ton of loot, and sail away from every possible threat. Players who would much rather sail into the Red Sea than shoot a cannonball. Players that simply don't understand that the Reaper's Bones isn't just a way to get gold, but rather a way to hunt down other pirates. Now before I delve into the actual bounty hunting system, I want to explore a bit of the custom lore that I have written for this content update. A new faction has emerged from the depths of the seas, known as the Twisted Knives. Vengeful pirates that were killed at the hands of the Reaper's Bones, and are out for revenge. With the power of the Veil of the Ancients, these rebellious pirates have been resurrected from the Sea of the Damned, and have now ventured into the Sea of Thieves. However, they aren't the usual phantoms that we've seen before, not in the slightest. These pirates are known as Revenants, lost souls that have somehow retained their living body during their resurrection, and are now cursed to walk the Sea of Thieves for eternity as ghosts. Revenants are half living, half dead, so their appearance kinda reminds me of Captain Salazar from the worst Pirates of the Caribbean movie that I will not mention. The Twisted Knives all share one mentality, that the pirates of the Sea of Thieves are pirates, not allies with each other in some trading company. The Twisted Knives are the embodiment of chaos, and go so far as to put bounties on pirates' heads that are carrying the most treasure, and will pay handsomely for that bounty's elimination. So yes, this faction is a bounty hunting faction. The Revenants of the Twisted Knives have set up shop on the Reaper's hideout in the wreckage of the leader's ship called the Black Talon, which is now populating the northernmost island of the hideout, which was previously unused. The Black Talon was captained by the infamous Captain Raven. In her life, she was the most feared pirate on the Sea of Thieves. Anyone who would cross paths with her would soon find their ship in the bottom of the ocean. Raven would work alone as a mercenary, keeping all the gold she plundered for herself, and amassing a giant crew of 12 sailors on her mighty ship. She watched the various trading companies form, the rise of Athena's fortune, and the rise of alliances. Furious with this, Raven swore to take over Athena's fortune for herself. But before she could make a move, she met the Servant of the Flame, a newcomer to the Sea of Thieves at the time, who offered her his sword in exchange for an alliance of some sorts. Reluctant to agree, Raven eventually took his sword and accepted the Code of the Blade, the anti-pirate code. The crew of the Black Talon would join him by his side and fight against Ramsey and Athena's fortune for making the seas soft with their "we shall sail together" motto. Over time, Raven saw corruption in the Reaper's bones, with loyal followers of Athena's fortune joining with the Servant of the Flame, rather than the pirates for all eternity she was promised. In her rage, Raven betrayed the Servant of the Flame, attempting to stab him in the back, but it was her own life that was lost instead, and she was cast out into the waves to join the crews that she sank. As the boundary between the worlds of the living and dead weakened, Captain Raven has now resurfaced, and her ship, the Black Talon, has become bound to the Reaper's hideout. However, only the most dedicated Reaper's followers are allowed inside the mighty vessel. Similar to becoming a pirate legend, the Twisted Knives will only allow you to enter their hideout if you have become Reaper 75 and have sunk 200 ships of any kind throughout your voyages as a pirate. This may seem like a lot, but once completed, you will receive a special shanty that, when played, causes your instruments to glow a bright red color as the hypnotic melody tears the seal between the worlds open, revealing a dark portal. Entering inside of the Black Talon, players will be greeted with a loading screen before loading into none other than the Sea Dogs Tavern. See, as the arena closed and the Sea Dogs faded into legend, the resurrected Captain Raven and her crew of revenants have made this abandoned tavern into their hideout. They have completely taken over the tavern and plundered all of the hidden treasure from inside, including all of the silver that we had earned from arena contests. But we'll get to that a bit later. In this hideout, we can see the remnants of the once glorious Sea Dogs Tavern, but everything is much darker, and a lot of the decorations in the walls have been removed or destroyed, including the portrait of DeMarco, which is now smashed to pieces. Talking to Raven, she will begin to teach you the secrets of the Twisted Knives, and the new currency that comes alongside it, but only if you accept the Code of the Blade for yourself. This is the code that Captain Raven herself accepted, so when you accept it, it will allow you to embark on their own versions of voyages, and of course unlock the faction to level up. But there is a catch. Accepting this code will no longer allow you to sell your own loot to the Reaper's Bones or the Twisted Knives for full price. You will now earn 25% of the full value of that item. However, if the loot item was stolen from another player, it will count for 125% of its value, without the emissary multiplier. Accepting the code will now allow you to earn silver, a new kind of currency on the Sea of Thieves that was salvaged from the ruins of the Sea Dogs. Silver is used inside of the Black Talon hideout, or at the Twisted Knives stakeouts on the outpost, to purchase an exclusive line of new cosmetics. You can level this faction up to level 50, but you can only gain reputation from selling broken emissary flags, Reaper's loot, and stolen loot to the Revenant standing outside of the Black Talon, or those outpost docks where the Sovereigns used to be. The amount of reputation you will gain will be slow, very slow, similar to the Hunter's Call levels of slow. But completing special milestone commendations will give you a boost in experience. Silver is only earned from engaging in PvP and completing hunts. However, when you agreed to the Code of the Blade, one thing Raven left out was, you are now a pirate bounty hunter, and a new bounty system has now been unlocked. It is accessible from the bounty board at the outposts. You may be thinking, bounty board? Don't you mean the quest board where the buried treasure maps are posted? Well, when the Revenants broke through the weakened barrier between the worlds, they invaded the outposts, pillaging the maps from the quest board and changing the quest boards into bounty boards. They scared off the Sovereigns, taking over their destroyed huts for themselves, and set up shop in the wreckage. Oh, but don't worry. If you liked the Sovereigns, they will be back with a vengeance. The trading companies are too scared to even approach these undead newcomers, so with their arrival, each of the other pirates on the island are now warning you to stay away from the newcomers. Even Lorena. But, hey, we're pirates. We don't heed warnings very well. Here's how the new bounty system works. Once a crew that is sailing on the seas has gathered enough treasure on their ship, they are at risk of being targeted. And a predetermined crew, or two, with the most treasure on their ship, will have a bounty placed on them. Once that bounty is placed, the target gets a warning message. But not just like a message card on the screen like usual. Something a bit more special happens. A Revenant suddenly appears on their ship, holding a peculiar-looking bounty skull. They take the skull and thrust it into the mast on the target ship, breaking through the wood right above the bell. With the skull now attached to your ship, the Revenant wishes the unfortunate target good luck as they dive back into the waves. This strange bounty skull, called the Skull of Fate, is what the bounty hunter is actually after, since that skull is what will award them silver. Once the bounty has officially been placed, the skull is bound to the ship. So don't even think about trying to remove the skull, it's not gonna budge. Now, having the skull on your ship doesn't necessarily mean a fight is going to happen right that instant. The crew that gets the skull bound on their ship are still able to sail around and complete their current voyage. Having the skull on your mast basically means that the captain of the target ship will appear on the bounty board in a form of wanted poster, showing how much silver the hunter will get for successfully taking the target's Skull of Fate. These posters can be picked up by any pirate who has accepted the Code of the Blade, and once the poster is picked up, it is posted above the hunter's quest table. The target will have their general location marked on the hunter's map, and it is now up to the hunter to finish the job. Now, once a bounty hunter has picked up a poster, the target's Skull of Fate will begin to flare up with energy, starting to glow a faint red color. That glow will slowly get stronger and stronger as the bounty hunter gets closer, when eventually, the fight begins. In the scenario that the hunter is successful in sinking their target, the Skull of Fate will become fully charged with power as it floats up from the sunken wreckage for them to claim. Along with all of their loot, of course. Awarding the victorious pirates with silver. But if the pirates that were sank had also accepted the code, they will actually gain a small amount of silver for themselves for participating in the fight, so they don't walk away empty-handed for engaging in battle. However, Raven will only grant the successful hunters half of the silver that was promised. The rest of the silver can be given to them once they turn in the Skull of Fate. This special bounty skull will have an icon tracker, similar to a Reaper's Chest or a Fort of Fortune key, for all players on the map to see. There is a catch, however. The Skull of Fate can only be sold to the exact outpost that you picked up the bounty from. No other revenant will accept that skull from you. If they do so, they will receive their reward, which is reputation within the faction, and the other half of the silver that was originally promised. But this isn't the only possibility. The target does have the opportunity to get revenge on the hunter. When the target is eliminated, their ship will actually respawn closer than normal to where they sank, to give the unfortunate pirates that sank an opportunity to chase down the bounty hunter and get revenge. Now, once the target does successfully get revenge on their attacker, the crew that sank will watch their ship sink, just as it does in Season 8. Captain Raven herself then appears in front of the losing crew as they sink to the bottom of the ocean, saying that the Skull of Fates they were hunting has lost its power, sending that losing crew over to another world to hunt once more. With the hunters gone from their world, the successful target crew that got revenge can take their Skull of Fate for themselves, and have one of two options. They can return it to the Twisted Knives, or smash the skull to pieces. Each choice they make will have a different consequence. Turning in the skull doesn't give you any gold. Instead, it will apply the very first of a couple brand new ship curses to your ship. Each ship curse will cause an aura to glow around the front of your ship's hull, and each one has a specific effect that takes place on your ship. The one that you get from turning in the Skull of Fate is called the Hunter's Bane. It is a curse that lasts for 30 minutes, and it increases the bounty amount placed over your head. But, in return, it doubles the amount of gold and reputation you get until the Hunter's Bane expires. For my experienced players, imagine if you can activate the Golden Glory Weekend, which normally doubles your golden reputation, just for getting revenge on someone who sank you. Pretty sweet reward, right? As I said before, there is a catch for choosing to allow the Hunter's Bane to be placed on your crew. Your face will remain on that bounty board, with a temporarily increased price for any pirate who dares challenge you again. That amount will go back down to normal when the Bane expires, but for that 30 minutes, you will become a very high-value target. So expect some resistance when trying to cash in your more valuable treasure. So, what if the increased risk and reward that comes with cashing in your Skull of Fate is a bit too much for you? Well, you can rather place the skull back into your mast to opt in for another potential fight, which will earn you some more reputation and silver if you have accepted the Code of the Blade. Or there is another option, and that is to smash the skull to pieces with your bare hands. Doing so looks super cool, and will sacrifice half of the compensation pay of silver or gold that you got for participating in battle. If you're flying an emissary, the shockwave that is caused when smashing the skull will snap your emissary flag off, sacrificing it to the ocean, and you will lose all of the levels that you have gained in that emissary for that session. So it'll be as if you sank and have to restart your emissary levels from the beginning. And in return, your face gets wiped off of the bounty board until your crew gathers enough treasure to be targeted again by the Twisted Knives. So if you aren't a fan of PvP, this is the opt out of a fight button. Sure, it will sacrifice your emissary, but you don't have to worry about being hunted by another bounty hunter. At least for now. So, the choice is yours, but each choice has its own consequences. One final thing in this update besides the bounty system and the Twisted Knives. You can now initiate duels on your ship. The Twisted Knives have struck a deal with the shipwrights, and have added a dueling bell to the deck of each ship, including captain ships. Ringing it will cast a vote, similar to voting on a voyage, and if another player on your crew rings that bell, the duel commences, and both players are now able to damage each other, a form of friendly fire for a limited amount of time. Once one player is downed, the duel is decided, and the winner has the option to revive their crewmate for a second round if they plead for a 2 out of 3, or send them to the Ferry of the Damned to contemplate their loss. There won't be any gold or reputation that are tied to these duels, but it can be a good way to pass the time while sailing across the map, and practicing your aim for those PvP encounters that will come with the Twisted Knives. I believe that the introduction of the Twisted Knives and this new bounty system will help revitalize the most exciting part of the Sea of Thieves, PvP. And I believe that this is the way the game needs to go if the PvE side wants to thrive. Sea of Thieves is very unique in the fact that the PvE side on its own can get a little boring with no apparent threats. Because at the end of the day, it is just you're playing a pirate postmaster. That's where PvP comes in to spice things up. But the PvP side on its own, well, we saw what happened to Arena.
We've made the difficult decision to close Arena in Sea of Thieves.
With that being said, let me know what you think of this update concept in the comments down below. I want to give a huge thank you to all of the artists who helped me out in visualizing my idea for the ultimate PvP faction in the Sea of Thieves. And I want to give all of you a huge thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, and you want to see what other crazy concepts I have, let me know by giving this video a like to give it a little bump in the algorithm, and consider subscribing if you like my content. And until next time, I will see you out on the seas.